Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Enhance Your World show. I am your co-host, Chris Alba. Larkin will be on shortly. And today we have an exciting and challenging day. This is going to be pretty triggering. So trigger, warning or, whatever people need. I'm not... I don't want to say things that necessarily offend people or hurt people. It's kind of my goal in life to be kind, and there is a difference between being kind and being nice. So this show hopefully is going to be kind, but it's not going to be sugar coated. It's not going to be PC probably, because I'm going to talk about some things that have really prevented and challenged me along my journey, as well as my clients and those that I walk with as professional healers, enhancers, or whatever labels that they go by. We're talking about avoiding the detours on our journey. And the first thing that I want to talk about today is spiritual bypassing. And, I think it's bypassing in general. We do this with the mind by creating excuses, by creating blame, by projecting our thoughts and feelings onto somebody else, and using teachings that we've acquired through our direct experience, which is also including the books that we've read, our entertainment, all the different things that our consciousness picks up along the way, and really healing the disconnect between the subconscious mind, the conditioned mind, and our conscious mind, or our creative mind. And there's so many people now. I've been watching this industry grow over the last decade. In the I guess alternative healing industry. I guess I don't know why it's called the alternative, because it was the original until the Rockefellers and all that kind of stuff, and that's for another show, where we've come up with this modern medicine that we now think is the way, and the alternative is different. And people tend to seek out, us energy healers and herbalists and, these massage therapists and, these different healers for our well-being, when conventional medicine, conventional ways isn't working anymore. And so we're sent on this quest, whether we're aware of it or not. It's been called the hero's journey, the healing journey, all these different things, right? But it's still our lifetime. And that's what I want to try to talk about today. It's tough because how do you go beyond mind without talking about, or without talking, right? Or while you're talking, because going beyond the mind is going beyond thought. It's going beyond feeling. It's going beyond those things, and really being present to where you're at in this moment. Yes, you observe your thoughts. Yes, observe your feelings. But when you can just observe without reacting to a thought or to a feeling, and authentically respond with creative intelligence, whether that's through communication, whether that's through the behavior, whatever that is, that's how you can move beyond the subconscious programs that quietly move us in ways that we may or may not be aware of. Hi, Larkin. How are you doing?
Good, Chris. How are you? Keep going. I love this. This sounds amazing.
Yeah, thanks. What I was talking about, really is how do we avoid these detours It's been in my experience that um, I've chased after things in my life. And it was only when I either got too tired or I caught it that I came to a higher truth. And a lot of times in my early entrepreneur career, I guess you could say, it was interesting because I was being met with material success, but there was this emptiness in it. And I always wanted to do more, and we would be having this great event, everybody's having a great time, and I can reflect back and remember me feeling like this isn't it, this isn't enough, I'm not doing enough, oh, I could have made it this or that or whatever. And that separation, that anxiety for perfectionism, kept me from truly being present and enjoying the process of life as it was unfolding. So, the title of the show, Avoiding the Detours of Our Journey. Our journey is our life. And I don't know if there is a way to avoid detours, because it's been my experience that I had to go down a path to realize that it was leading me down to a place that I didn't want to be. But every dark hallway that I entered, every place of despair, every pit of challenge and things like that, brought the light of information that helped me grow in ways that I could have never anticipated, in developing my authentic character, not my egoic character. And the discernment between that is your egoic character. This is in my opinion, in my view, whatever, and how I think about it. But our egoic character is the character that we want to be, believe that we are. And we react sometimes when people challenge that idea of us, because we're authentically showing up in a way that they didn't expect. We want to be joyful all the time. We want to be happy all the time, all those different things. Those are great goals. But to be aware that you're sad, or to be aware that you're angry, or, any of those things, and use it in a constructive manner, because it's all energy. The constructs of materialism, if we really went down to the atom, we would find out it's everything that we think is solid is 99.9999, all that percent hollow space and it's like the night sky. There's this vast darkness, but because of that darkness, there's a contrast of the stars. We have to have both. And, I wanted to do this show and talk a lot about spiritual bypassing today, because I see so many people that are in their journey, and they're actually teaching other people this, of these ways, these mindsets, these religions, these belief systems, to justify their existence of separation, of elevation. I hear so many people that are on the spiritual path talk about, well, I got sick because other people were low vibe. No, you were low vibe. That's why you got sick. Like, your vibration isn't as good as you want to make it believe. That character that you've made up in your head of who you think you are isn't the truth. It's a reflection of the truth. And when we become aware of that, we become more present, and letting go of a lot of our self-protection mechanisms, which is our beliefs, our habits, those types of things. Good, bad, indifferent, those are mental labels. So we're going to stay away from that right now. But whatever it is, let's call them self-protection. They're either going to benefit, they're either benefiting constructively or they're destroying us in other ways. But either way, there are ways to protect our ego from being challenged to see the limitations in our presence and how to go on. You know, I want to be really cautious, and I know Larkin's going to be able to help with a lot of this stuff, because hey Natalie, I'm doing amazing. How are you doing?
Yeah, you are doing amazing. This is spot on. I mean, you're preaching to the choir. You are inspired today, and this is one of the most important messages that needs to get out there, I think, period. If people hear nothing else, what you're saying is so important, because you're basically defining our need to awareness. And if we don't have awareness, we're not going anywhere. I mean,
Right.
This awareness has to come first. And you're talking about our true, authentic, conscious selves versus our egoic identities, which is what we spend our entire lives having to wake up from.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, this is it right here, guys. This is the enchilada.
Right. You know, and a lot of us, you know, and again, like this is a process of unfolding. Like if we tried to make a flower bloom faster, we're going to destroy it. But if we cultivate the environment properly, it's going to unfold in its natural time. Same thing with a garden. You know, I've been on this huge kick lately, Larkin, and a friend of mine is like, you just need to keep talking about your garden because that's, you know, everything's spot on. And I'm like, it's so weird. I've spent over 20 years of studying experts and all these things and stories and, you know, all this stuff to get all this externalized awareness, right, of how other people think, how other people feel, how other people behave. And I've learned so much just by working in my garden and realizing that, hey, this is true abundance. My garden is an example of true abundance. Spiritually, when I started it, I had the faith that if I took care of it, I protected it from pests, I gave it proper nourishment, I watered it, I cared for it, I did the things that I had to do, that I would yield a proper and abundant harvest, right? The reap before you sow. You know, you have to plant the garden, you have to, you know, you have to prepare the soil, you have to water it, you have to do all these various different things. But it comes down to very, very simple, basic things. And if we took that analogy of the garden and applied that metaphor to our relationships with ourselves, with other people, with our jobs, with whatever, and realize that it is what it is, it's not what it's not, and we can make it mean whatever we need to in the present moment to give us directionality of how to move through the unknown void that is always present, moving us into a future that maybe we've projected and we've visualized and we've you know, and this is where I've become very very trapped in my own perspectives and was destructive because I had this belief, I had this feeling that what I was doing was the right thing for the right reasons at the right time with the right people. And I had synchronicities and I had all these things showing up for me to help empower that belief, only to find out that belief was faulty and that my faith, my true faith, was based on my beliefs. And that is not faith. Faith is understanding that no matter what happens, everything is gonna be fine. Everything's gonna continue on. My heart is gonna keep me here in the 3D until it doesn't. And then again, I am no longer in the pain of separation of cause and effect. I'm no longer feeling the experience of this physical reality. I'm no longer ill with dis-ease mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. True faith is trusting the unknown, that everything is going to work out. Maybe not the way we think it is, maybe not the way we want it to, but that, again, I believe, is a lot of our egoic conditioning, even if we're not aware of it or not. I was speaking with my dad the other day, and he, of course, he's always reminding me, that I've done things not the traditional way, right? And I don't have a 401k, and you got to have all this stuff. And I sat back and I talked to him about it, and it really got under his skin. But I said, Dad, the thing is the way that you lived as you grew up no longer exists. Loyalty in corporations is not a thing. Your companies that you worked for were not loyal to you. They used you until you were too expensive or whatever, and then they traded you off for another component. And I saw this growing up in my own life. And now that he's retired and he's gotten to where he is, he's reached his goals in the way that he thought maybe that it would happen. But he was talking to me about, benefits, and, I should go work for a company and get stock options and, all that stuff. And, I of course listened to him and respected, his position. And then I responded and said, yeah, well, I see it a little bit different. I don't have the faith in our system or monetary, what's going on with our currency and our economy and, all these different things. Like that's beyond my control. I can't control that. So I don't have faith in it. So how am I supposed to invest in it? And I said, what I have faith in is my garden. What I have faith in is me planting all these fruit trees and growing an orchard. What I have faith in is that my Mother Nature, who birthed all of us, yes, every single life that on this planet was birthed through Mother Earth. I trust that.
Absolutely.
And that for me is abundance. Unfortunately, we've done such damage through our innocence and our arrogance and our ignorance to where we've made it challenging to live in harmony with our nature. We can't go down to the we can't go down to the creek or I lived, a few miles from the Ohio River. I'm never going to go down there and grab a glass of water out of the Ohio River and drink it. It's going to make, I'm going to have to process it. I'm going to have to purify it. I'm going to have to do things, because what our ancestors and we are doing to our planet right now has created a toxic environment for a lot of the life here on Earth. And our detours come from believing that this new way, this green movement, that thing, or this authoritarian government official is going to change our lives, and they're just going to fix everything. Like poof, like a fairy comes out and sprinkles a little fairy dust on you, and all of a sudden you can fly. Like, and I'm not trying to poo-poo on some spiritual teachings about all these mystical creatures and stuff like that. I've spoken with angels, I've spoken with things, but the thing that I've realized, that working with these entities that are beyond physical reality, they can help give me guidance, but they can't do the work for me.
Amen. Oh my God. I say this every freaking live broadcast. Thank you.
And this is the detours, right? Our detours are, we have this belief system and with this perspective and this, we have our compass, and it's showing us this direction, and we're just following it, trusting in the guidance of our compass, but not realizing that It's the experience of that journey that is the life that we're here to live, that we're here to experience. And this stuff of this is good, this is bad, this is toxic, this is that, and stay away, danger, 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 self-protect, 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 is only dividing us, keeping us from the solutions to be able to implement into our own lives, into our families, into our relationships, into our communities, local and globally, to enhance our planet, enhance our consciousness for our generations to come. It's not about the methods. The methods are road signs. They're ways to practice.
Yes.
You know, like I just did a gauge talk last night, and at the end we did a meditation, and you know, I was sitting there with two fairly new, I just met them, but from what they were telling me, fairly new on the path people, you know, to this walk. And they didn't have a whole lot of awareness about spiritual teachings yet, which was beautiful, because then I could just talk about critical thinking and, you know, these other things. But one of the other people there is super, I'm trying to find the right words, because I don't want to cause division, because she's a lovely person, but someone that's very self-protected with her spiritual beliefs. And as I'm going, I can just see her, like, just the energy was coming up, and she's getting angry, right? Because I'm kind of challenging some of our status quos of spiritual practices. And then we do this meditation, and I said at least 10 times, no matter what happens, please do not break the circle. We're holding hands because we're creating a container of energy. If you feel dizzy, you know, because it's a breath work, and there's a lot of energy, and a lot of times your body's tingling, and there's sensations going on, and there's weird thoughts, and you're seeing colors. Like, that's the part of the cool thing about these spiritual practices, and why we get so addicted to them, right? And but don't break hands, right? And so as the guide, I do the meditation, but I don't allow myself to go fully into it, because I want to check in on everybody and making sure that they're okay along the way, and, you know, that kind of thing, holding safe space. And I look over at this person who runs a very successful spiritual business, that, you know, travels the world to all these spiritual places and has all this spiritual knowledge and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And she broke the circle. And I was like, I was blown away. And I was talking to the guy on my right as I was holding his hand. I was like, man, you were really buzzing. You're really vibrating. I'm feeling that, you know. And my girlfriend was sitting next to me, and next to her was another girl. And she was like, yeah, the same thing. And she's like, yeah, that's why I had to let go. They were vibrating too hard. And I was like, wow, like, here's somebody that spent most of her life practicing this stuff, teaching this stuff. And as soon as she got uncomfortable, she broke the one rule: don't break the circle. Hang in there for everybody else, because it's not going to hurt you. It might make you uncomfortable, but it's not going to hurt you. It's actually going to help you get past that plateau that keeps you there. And that's the glass ceiling of our ego. We have to blast through that discomfort. You have to let go of things that are working well, but not perfectly, so you can move towards that higher vibration. And this is a process of unfolding and growth. You know, I mean, that's one of the biggest principles of the gauge. Well, it is one of the 5 principles of the gauge method's growth. And, you know, I used to say early in my motivational speaking career, be like a dandelion, be like a weed, because those suckers, they grow anywhere. It doesn't matter. They can grow out of rocks. They can grow in the gravel. They can grow in dirt. They can grow in sand. They can, you know what I mean? They are an example of perfection because they are an adaptogen or adaptable to their environment. And then while they're in their environment, they help purify and provide nutrients to that environment that allows other people or other plants to be able to grow there. And that's what I believe the spiritual journey is all about. Some of us have tenacity, some of us have perseverance, some of us have discipline, some of us have all that stuff. Courage, whatever you want to say about the characteristic traits that we all hope we have. And some of us really try really hard to cultivate them. But it's those people with the internal strength that is going to go against, not in war, but go against the status quo to cause a resistance in the energy of the status quo, the way people know it, the easy flow, whatever you want to call it, to cultivate an environment of change. And that's where you know somebody is walking a spiritual path, because life gave them the bare necessities, limited resources, a challenging upbringing, addictions, whatever it is that they had to grow through to get to where they are. So where they no longer have this fear of the unknown, and they can sit and they can say, frickin' bring it, man. Whatever it takes. Because the truth is unconditional love is unconditional. It is not based on comforts. It's not based on likes. It's not based on dislikes. It's not based on anything else than the fact that it is what it is. And the mind, the story, the thoughts, the feelings are a part of that spectrum. And once you can develop the compassion for being where you are right now, in the relationships you are right now, and get curious about how you can creatively cultivate solutions in your day-to-day, moment-to-moment lives, is the day that you empower yourself to enhance your life, enhance our world, because it's collective. You know, we talked last night about the 100 monkey principle. And basically what happens is you can teach, and this is a science-based thing, but if you teach 100 monkeys how to do something, monkeys from all over the world will develop that skill set, even if they were never taught. You know, and I'm talking about interconnectedness now. You know, a queen bee, I can take a queen bee here from Northern Kentucky, Cincinnati area, from a hive, and go to Australia with that bee alive. And as long as she's alive, she's telepathically connected to her drones and to her hive. They will continue to work. If I were to squish that queen bee, then that hive will collapse and then we'll move on. These are examples of the interconnectedness of our nature. And I'm not talking about man-made stories. I'm not talking about man-made traditions. I'm not talking about all these different things, you know, like, you know, people calling them, I'm my authentic self. Really? What does that mean? Because when I started internalizing my authentic self, when I started reflecting my authentic self, all the things that I tried to keep down, such as my sadness, my anger, my despair, all those things, they came up so I could process them, so I could deal with them. And now they don't control me as much anymore. I have a deeper understanding and a compassion for people, for where they are in their life and where they want to get to in their life. And because of that harmonious frequency, we're able to work together to get to that result. Sorry, Larkin, I went on a tangent there. Hi, Ann and Bernadette and Mary Lee. Thank you so much for joining us. Larkin, would you like to say anything? Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to stay for the whole show today. I have an appointment that.
Oh no, Chris, and this is perfect.
Yeah,
I can only stay on till 1 myself, so we're fine.
Okay.
No, I think that I think this is powerful. I mean, this is the same. This is the message that I try to give everybody, every live that I have. That, you know, Natalie has been a coaching client of mine for a few years, and you know, I mean, I when I say I cherry pick my clients, I work with everyone to a certain level, but then when it comes to my serious coaching clients, I really select them based on, are we a good partnership? Because this is exactly why the mainstream thinking that we have going on really is, you know, Paul needs to hear what you just said. And no matter how wonderful or smart, good-hearted, intelligent, spiritual someone is, they're, you know, we're all influenced by those things that you're talking about. Mm-hmm. We're all affected by that. If you're human, if you have a brain, if you're thinking and alive, then you have this going on. Mm-hmm. Period. Sorry, like that. So that being said, the message that you're sharing is also a lot of, you know, what Dr. Wayne Dyer was trying to get to, what he was trying to express. It's, you know, what a lot of the great teachers have tried to share, what we acquire through meditation. It's a level of awareness, and it has to start there. And unfortunately, the egoic self gets bored. And, you know, you mentioned a few things in the very beginning that are so pertinent, that are key words, I believe, in what we're talking about. One of them being, you know, you were talking about, you mentioned awareness. Mm-hmm. Another thing that you mentioned, what was the other word I was thinking of? Oh, was you were talking about beliefs. And beliefs and awareness. And we need to understand that those are two different things. You know, beliefs and awareness, it's two different things. Beliefs are just repeated thoughts. Thoughts you're having, they're processing with your brain, but thoughts are your mind. And, you know, we need to remember what some of these teachers have been trying to tell us for years. Ego is synonymous with mind. Mind is synonymous with thoughts. Thoughts are synonymous with ego. Mm-hmm. And you can listen to all my broadcasts. Hi, everybody. Hey, Marilee. You can listen to my broadcasts, and I think a lot of people do this, not just with mine. And you'll hear certain things repeated. And often when we hear certain things repeated, we get bored. Mm. You know, I mean, you hear it all the time. I've had people that signed up for my little group this year. I was trying to do a small membership group. And it was like, you know, it went from them wanting to be conscious and awaken and all this to, you know, all of a sudden it was like, okay, I had to find a different approach, because what was happening is some of the people that were showing up, it was like, well, they wanted something real. They wanted to be entertained, essentially. They wanted to, you know, a lot of this fell into, they wanted to learn, oh, I got to do Reiki, and I remember years ago when I was doing this with coaching, this girl was like, oh, but I got to go the astrology route. And I can't remember what terminology you just used a little while ago, but you used the perfect term to describe exactly what I'm talking about. Excuse me, where we pick these avenues, we pick these modalities, and our ego convinces us that that is the truth, that that is the answer, that that is the way, that that is the solution. And then we run that one out until we're bored, and then we we go to the next one. And honestly, I don't have very many pet peeves. This is one of them, because this is one of the main issues that I see with my clients. I could say it's one of the main issues I see with my clients, but what it really is what every great teacher in history has tried to help people navigate around, including Eckhart Tolle with his books, The Power of Now and Stillness Speaks. It's about not getting distracted by the mind, you know? And this just seems like we're having some fun conversation today, Chris, but really this topic, I mean, this ultimate topic I could talk about every day of the week with an audience all day, every day, and you wouldn't really run out of it, because it boils down to what? Those of you listening. Hi, C Mark, welcome. It boils down to the simplest things. And guys, if it's complex and you're bored, that's ego. If, like Chris was talking about his garden, and it's simple, then it's not complicated. That's the consciousness. That's the authenticity. And this is why people get so caught up in this. Now, I want to add a couple things, Chris, to what you said.
Of course.
Excuse me, because everything you said was perfect. I mean, absolutely, like, just spot on. And it's what we need to be working on. But the thing is, guys, is that you have a choice, right? Every time we do this stuff, every time you know, let's talk about just spiritual path for a second, since we're talking about spiritual bypassing. Your life, as Chris has already said, is your message. And I know some of you I've mentioned, there's a book literally called Your Life is Your Message. I cannot remember the woman's name, but I would highly recommend that, guys. Your life is your message, because it is. And in the beginning, Chris was talking about things not going the way that we want, us thinking things aren't working out. One of the main phrases that I use with my clients that came to me intuitively is, everything is always working out for you, right? It is working out for you. It may not be the way your ego wants, but we have to remember, and I just said this yesterday on my broadcast, I don't feel like it can be said enough, because it needs to be repeated in order for it to really sink in and hit you. But I think it's important to understand that when things do not seem to be going right, and I hear this all the time, and I correct people quite boldly. When you say things are going wrong, things are going badly, I get this on my reading lives all the time, because, and some of you come to my reading lives, but people come and, whoops, not using that match. People come onto these lives because they are struggling or suffering. They're in some sort of mental or emotional pain. That's really why they come. It's either to connect with a loved one, or it is to figure out, you know, should they stay with this partner? You know, they're worried about something. But here's the kicker. If they get, yeah, and Mark, we'll get to that word should in a second. I don't really want to talk too much, because Chris is on a roll today, and I really want him to talk.
Well, I got to bounce, so I do have to get going to my appointment.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So
okay.
Continue on, and I'm gonna drop out. Everybody have an amazing day. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next week.
Well, for those of you that did not listen, hear the first part, you need to go back and listen to the intro, and like the first 25 minutes was basically Chris. And he was just on a roll, and I'm just going to take it from what he was talking about, because he wanted to talk about spiritual bypassing today. Hi, Shayla, welcome. And I said, cool. And, you know, I know that it was truly inspired. Hi, Amber. I know it was truly inspired because if you go back and you listen to this broadcast from the beginning today, Chris was it was a completely inspired broadcast. It is what I've been teaching for years. And I think the most important messages that true and authentic spiritual teachers and examples are sharing right now. Spiritual bypassing. And the example I want to give you guys, and then Chris, we're going to get into your would should, okay? Is people get on things like my lives. I don't necessarily mean this live, but they'll get like on my reading lives. And a lot of you are often there, right? You come from a reading, you know, you come on, people want live free readings. What I've started doing, if you ever get on my reading lives, is you'll notice I say, please don't get on and ask for a reading right away. Please take a few minutes to get present and to wait. And part of this, guys, is because we're always wanting, needing. And as Chris was talking about, you know, we have these expectations. We are expecting a quick fix. We are hoping that when we get on that live or we get that quick free online reading, it's going to be a miracle and fix everything. And when we have this attitude of living our lives as everything has to be a miracle, everything has to be fixed like this. And this is why I interview people that coach with me, because if you want to feel better, if you want to transform, if you want change in your life, if you want to stop struggling and suffering, if you want to manifest something, yes, as Chris was saying, everything is energy. That's one of my favorite phrases. However, you have to understand that everything is a process. Your life is a process. Your spiritual path is a process. Your spiritual path is your life. So when people come to me and they always say, oh, I've been off my spiritual path. No, you haven't. You're never off your spiritual path. You cannot be off your spiritual path. Chris he did such an eloquent job of trying to differentiate between what we believe and what is. Please get the book, The Power of Now. Please get Stillness Speaks. Because even if you read 5 minutes a day, a paragraph a day over and over, that is Eckhart Tolle's consciousness coming through to your consciousness. You guys have to understand that you are not your thoughts. And even everything you're thinking right now while you're listening to me, that's a thought. And you are believing it. Because why are you believing it? Because you associate it as you. And the only thing you can never get away from your entire life are your own thoughts. You are the only thing you can never get away from your whole life. So you had better believe that that voice in your head has got to go through your gatekeeper first, the gatekeeper of your consciousness. There is no spiritual bypassing, guys. There are no shortcuts. Everything is a process. So you had better learn how to be a director and a gatekeeper of that process. Now, you guys have a lot of great comments here. Let's see. I want to mention this. You believe the lessons are already in place. Interesting. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. Things are not predestined. We think, and again, guys, I am a lifelong psychic medium, spiritual interpreter. I channel, I communicate with animals. I'm highly intuitive. I'm an empath. I have an intact cosmic memory, but I'll tell you what, And Shayla, you might not even still be on here. But we have free will, and we can change anything we want. We come sometimes because we have chosen there's particular things we want to learn. But guess what? You also have the free will to come and change your mind and decide you don't want to learn those things. If everything was already in place, there'd be no point of having free will. If everything was already in place, what would be the point of any of this? There wouldn't be any. Okay? So understand that nothing is set in stone. Everything is out of time and space. So when I hear other readers and teachers or coaches try to convince people that you have these set in stone contracts, I believe they probably honestly believe that. I hear, and guys, hopefully this will give you some insight into your own, awareness. Awareness is key. When I hear coaches and teachers and clients and readers say things like, this was meant to be, this was your contract with that person, I am so sorry, my friends, but that is bull freaking shit. It is. And because when they can engage, and they probably believe this, but when they can engage with your mind, guess what? You're interested. You stay. You listen. Look, I've got 8 people watching right now. 8. I've been coaching for 15 years. Okay. Now, mind you, I'm sure if I got a best-selling book out there and gotten podcasts with millions of people, yeah, of course, I'd have more listeners. But the point is that if Chris and I were feeding the egos better, if our goal was to feed the egos to get the numbers up for people to come and listen to this podcast, and that was our goal, just get the numbers up so we could sell stuff, right? There would be an element of, and I'm not saying that we won't get those followers without doing this, but you've got to understand that a lot of reasons why you hear people speaking that way, this was meant to be, and this was predestined, and this is what's going to happen. The ego loves that. The ego loves that because the ego says, oh, finally, I know someone's giving me answers. Here's security. That's how it should be. Guys, there is no should. So I'm going to go right from Shillelagh's to C. Mark's. There is no should. Now, let's differentiate here for a minute, okay? In the world of form, in the world of tangible, in the world of mind, there is a should, right? I should have paid that bill on time so that I didn't get a late fee. Sure, okay, that's real. I'm with you. I hear you. I should have, backed away from that person and zipped up my pocket before they pickpocketed me. I'll give you that. In the world of form, this is true. But today we're talking about spiritual bypassing. And Chris was emphasizing awareness. In the greater reality, my friends, and even Eckhart Tolle alludes to this, the greater reality versus our egoic reality. In the greater reality, there is no should. There just is. There is no should. There just is. So let's go back to, again, guys, I encourage you to listen to this from the beginning because Chris was just pure brilliance. I would love for everyone in the world to hear what he had to share this afternoon, okay? He was talking about basically how all these years of taking coaching and learning and working with teachers and reading and trying to get information, all those years, and yet he's learned more from working in his garden. But you see, the problem is that's not exciting enough for most people. Until you do it, until you get into the garden and you see the benefits that it gives you, that's not enough for most people. They want the drama of getting on and talking with people and asking questions and telling their problems and sharing things. You see, the mind loves problems. Even if that means you're miserable, the mind loves it. So you can come and say to us, oh my gosh, I want to fix this. I don't like this. I've got to change something. And the authentic you means that. And your mind at the time might even mean that. Hi, Anne, welcome. But you see, unless you create a greater sense of awareness, and guys, I don't mean, everybody thinks they're aware. I say this, and, even my brand new, fresh coaching clients will be like, oh, I'm aware of that. I'm aware of that. I'm aware of that. We spend half the call with them telling you how aware they are. I'm not talking about just the general things that the 5% of your mind who's aware of things is aware of. You can't know what you don't know. You can't be aware of what you're not aware of, can you? So you can tell me until the cows come home how aware you are. I guarantee you're mostly asleep. Because as long as you're functioning mostly from your cognitive mind, from your brain, from your egoic mind, you are not awake. This is why when I say, please listen to or read Eckhart Tolle, and people come back to me and go, oh my God, I could only listen to it for 90 seconds. He's so boring. He's not boring. He's boring to your ego. You know why? Because your ego finds consciousness boring. And your ego, your mind, same thing, has been trained. Now it's even worse. You're trained by this. You are getting a dopamine fix at least 15 hours a day, probably more like 18. And here's what that means. That means that your brain and nervous system is always on overdrive. And so when you go to try to sleep or something happens and you try to be calm, what happens is you have an anxiety response. Hi, Kate. Welcome. You have like 2 brain cells. But my point is that until you guys choose to change the habits, as Chris was saying, sometimes it happens, we don't want it to, right? We're forced into situations that we don't like. But that takes you back to everything is working out for you. The difference is you're either going to choose. Hi, Kate. Welcome. You guys are either going to choose to make the shifts. You're either going to choose to say, I'm leaving this inside for an hour and I'm going to go have a garden this year. I'm going to go take a walk. I'm going to go rake leaves, which you really shouldn't. You should leave the leaves on the ground. Whatever it is. I'm going to go spend this time in nature and wean yourself off of the overstimulation so that you can even get to a point where you're still enough to intentionally create more awareness. Or life will continue to push you in ways that are going to keep you to struggle, that are going to enforce pain. Pain is not to punish you. Pain is not because you did something wrong. As Chris was saying, these are road signs. These are messengers. If you have habits of pain or suffering or struggle, there are choices you are unaware of that you don't know you can make. They are road signs. They are messengers. They are not something that needs to be avoided, because when we turn then to avoid what we don't like the feeling of, we just shove ourselves farther in. We need to come up into awareness. So a great spiritual teacher that I worked with years ago that I ran into, I wasn't doing necessarily training with him, pointed out that everything is a distraction. And it validated right after I had realized this for myself. Guys, everything is a distraction. Everything associated with your mind is a distraction. So my question to you today, and I also want to invite and remind you guys that, you know, Chris and we're creating a program where we can help you guys with this awareness, right? These levels of awareness. If you guys, want to have, I'm giving away so many free discovery calls a week. They are not free readings. This is not for you to get on and get a free reading. Okay. This is how I make a living. I can't just be doing everything for free. And most of what I do is for free. But for people that are really interested in being more conscious, in manifesting and creating change and transformation, I am offering 20-minute free discovery calls, just a certain amount of them a week. And the reason I'm doing this is because a lot of you just simply need direction. What we do is we go over what you want to change and what you want to transform and what your struggles are. And I help you create a plan. For some of you, that just means, okay, you can't afford anything. You're not willing to invest in anything. These are the books and the habits you need to start focusing on. For other people, it might be, wow, I know this coach or this person, and they're a perfect match for you. I would message them and see if you could get in with a call or check into their program. Or there may be a few of you that I feel are maybe invested enough in yourself, in what you want to transform and create, that I might invite you into some of the opportunities that Chris and I have to offer. Okay. It just depends. But it is an opportunity for those people who are serious. I only do a few of these discovery calls a week, and they're only 20 minutes. So you have to know, you have to be able to know, tell me, okay, what it is you want to change. What are your problems? What are the things you want to transform? And I want to give people direction, because what I find is, as Chris was saying, everybody gets on and they're like, oh, I'm just going to do Reiki. That's going to fix everything. Oh, it's astrology. Oh, I'm getting into yoga. Oh, if I just make more money, it's fine. No, guys, it's not all of that. You're a whole being. Those can be fun ways with which to get there, and they can be paths and avenues. But it's not about getting anywhere. It's about waking up. It's about remembering who you are. How many of you on here could identify the observer behind your thoughts right now? How many of you are more in touch with the observer who's observing what you're listening and thinking to right now than you are your thoughts? Most of you at this very moment are misinterpreting your thoughts for that observer behind your thoughts. Most of you still believe you are your thoughts. And when you have a thought, you're going to believe it. And if you're thinking to me right now, no, Larkin, that's not true, you're believing your thoughts. Do you want that deeper dimension of reality and awareness that Chris was talking about came to him, not because of who he was training with, but because he was getting out in his garden? I find, at least with the coaching I do, having that reinforcement helps. Natalie, who was on here, is one of my coaching clients, and she can attest it's a process. Let's see. Choices are everything, guys. Choice is going to make a bunch, and it's going to upset some. Some of it won't, but I'll be free of more crap. Yeah, so while we're here in human form, choices are one of the most powerful things we can do. Do you guys know how you claim your power? Does anybody on here know what's the one thing you do that steps into your power? Hey, Teresa, welcome. Does anybody know? What is the one thing that you have to do to step into your power? Do you guys want to take a guess? Making choices. Making choices. This is going to be my final thought for today for you guys. Being present, Anne-Marie, what a great question. Yes, being present is actually the most important thing you can do. That is actually the most important thing you can do, Anne-Marie, is learn to be present. Here in physical form, your choices are how you step into your power, though. Choosing to be present can be one of those. So when you are indecisive, when you're procrastinating, when you're pushing blame out on circumstance, when you're saying, well, I can't do this because of that, and you're not taking radical responsibility, if you're saying, well, I'm waiting for this and this and this and this and this to make a choice, every time you do all of those things, you're giving your power away. You're giving your power away, guys, when you do that. So just keep in mind, and I'm going to leave you with this thought today, that the way you step into your power is by making choices. Next week, Chris and I will be back here at 12 p.m. again. We've moved our broadcast to Wednesday. I want to thank you for tuning in. Please share this particular broadcast. Share it with people and listen to it again, because Chris was just divinely inspired today. If you decide you are serious about creating change and transformation and you want an absolutely free 20-minute discovery call, you need to message me and to get a plan of what it is you need to do. And I want to thank you all for tuning in so much and joining us. We will see you again next week. We both get on here during the week and have other lives, and I look forward to seeing all of you there. Have an amazing day, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.